back to The Forecast, a bi-weekly podcast produced on Thursdays. This is episode 150, aka known as, I just said aka known as, that's not how that works. This podcast is going to be called the Cinco de Mayo episode, because of course, it is the 5th of May. The Forecast is a bi-weekly podcast streamed on Thursdays and released on YouTube and podcast on Fridays. We're a community of people that are exploring and discussing all kinds of things from video games and board games to film and TV to our everyday life experiences. If you'd like to know more about what we do, you can follow us at facebook.com/TheHorizonFB, or you can come hang out in our Discord channel, or you can check out our website, WeTheHorizon.com. We have a ton of original content for you to browse through. Additionally, everything we talk about is pushed out to our podcasting notes, which is, wait, that's not how I say that. It's pushed out to our podcast, whatever podcasting app you're using. I am Aaron, joined by a couple additional peeps this week. Caleb.
Hey, that's me.
Jake.
Hey, what's up?
Alex.
Really struggling this week, dude.
Hey, listen, we'll get to it. Owen.
Hello, guys, gals, and non-binary pals.
Let's talk about why we're struggling this week, Alex, shall we? Shall we?
What'd you do to him?
Nothing.
I didn't do anything, though.
It's really not his fault. It's Federico's fault, actually, because we were talking to him earlier, and he said you guys are going to have to celebrate for Cinco de Mayo. And so, has everybody brought their Cinco de Mayo drink with them for tonight's podcast?
Oh.
You guys don't have your Cinco de Mayo drink?
I
Alex,
did it right before we got here.
Go ahead and bring up our Cinco de Mayo drink that
Oh my god.
Betty has provided us.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
The moment I take 2 more sips of this, it's going to fall right off of my desk, for sure.
For the listeners at home, it looks like a lamb skull full of blood and guts. It's revolting.
It's so gory.
Just absolutely awful.
Great description.
What do you call this?
You call it a Corona Rita.
Yeah,
right?
Corona Rita.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It's
A
very, very
margarita.
good.
It's got an upturned Corona in it
Well, he was very particular
because
too. Because
you need some extra family in it.
Fam.
That's true.
I was going to
Family.
say in honor of the virus.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You always need a little Corona.
Because when you're infected, you're fam.
Right. That's right.
It all comes back together.
All coming back around. All right. Right off the top, we should probably just mention we talked about this 2 weeks ago in our pre-PAX
Second
EAST
Cinco de
podcast.
Mayo drink.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
my
Oh yeah,
God.
sorry. Second Cinco de Mayo drink right here.
I feel like
Other-
you guys
other
have
margarita.
decided on that one.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So by the end of this cast, it's gonna be. I mean, this
Y'all
cast
are
is
gonna
where we
be
pop off, guys.
Yeah.
Aaron made margaritas right before Fetty said that he made us margaritas. So
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Double
Fetty, we're
margaritas
Blame
now.
it on Fetty, right?
yeah.
All right, so top of the order. Let's talk about real quick Extra Life United. Last podcast we talked a little bit about this, but the final numbers were not yet published. We participated in a couple weeks ago a tournament to raise money for Children's Miracle Network hospitals called Extra Life United. A group of us participated. There were 6 of us in total. Chad, who's not here, played various games. We played some Halo. We played some Mario Kart. We played some Pokemon Unite, and we played some Fall Guys. It was fun. We got dominated, but it was still fun. And I think our total winnings ended up being somewhere in the neighborhood of like $2,200. I won $325 for Halo. We had Fall Guys. Chad won $600, and then of course we played some Pokemon Unite, and we won. What did we win in that one? Let's see.
1,200,
Oh, you have to do
I
the
think.
you have to do the actual math here because each person got paid $240. So
Yeah, 5 of us, 240 each.
very excited about that. I think our page for Extra Life is already live, so if you're interested in donating towards Extra Life, we'll be doing a 24-hour stream later on in the year, which is just a really good time for us. We have a blast, and we raised a lot of money last year, hoping to raise basically the same, if not more, this year. Very excited about that. Anyway, check that out. We'll have a link to the page so you can go find it there, and if you want to donate. Otherwise, thanks for hanging out. Let's move on to what have you been playing lately? And Jake, we're going to start with you right off the top.
Me?
Yeah, that
Oh,
way I
man,
can
so
finish
much
this
pressure.
margarita.
Jake.
Oh, excellent. That's smart. Tactical.
Smart.
So the new version of the Stanley Parable came out. Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. So I got that, and I played, I think, pretty much all of it. And, I mean, I really liked it. I love the Stanley Parable, and this is just more of that. It's really good. There's a bunch of new endings, bunch of cool new shit. There's a bucket. So what's not to love? 10 out of 10.
Bucket.
Can you wear the bucket on your head?
How-
a hat?
like-
the bucket.
You can't,
How much new
you
stuff
can-
is there really, like compared to the base game?
I would say it's probably bigger than the base game. Yeah,
Really?
it's about the size of the base game and then a little bit more.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
so
I
not
don't wanna,
not
I
like
don't
a
wanna-
ton new.
I mean, it's a short game.
Yeah,
sure.
But I think quality over quantity definitely holds true in this case.
Have
There's an achievement for waiting 10 years between playing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was one in the first game that was wait 5 years.
Mm.
So they just one up themselves here.
I was actually going to
Excellent.
ask if by launching this game you would get the achievement in the old game for waiting 5 years to play Stanley Parable again, but
Sadly, no.
I think so.
that's too bad. That'd have been good. That'd have been
It
good.
would have been quality.
Yeah, but good game overall.
Yeah, no, I really, really liked it. I mean, obviously, if you're not into the Stanley Parable, this isn't going to change your mind. But it's really fun. A lot of new content. There's a bucket.
Bucket.
That's what does
The
it
bucket
right
must
there.
be good, huh?
Dude, it is.
The bucket was pretty
It is
solid.
a plot important bucket. It's critical.
It is
So weird.
honestly a very important bucket.
All right, let's move on to Alex. What have you been playing lately?
Sure. Basically just Rogue Legacy 2. Finally came out in 1.0 out of early access. And I hadn't played any of it. I never picked it up in early access. I just decided to wait on it. And picked it up this week. Played like 15 hours or something. It's really solid. It's a lot like the first game. You're doing runs, upgrading your homestead area to make your subsequent runs better. You have to give up all your gold when you start. Charon.
What
Whatever
are you
his name
saying?
Just keep trying.
Are you okay?
is. Cherry on. Cherry.
You know,
Cards.
gameplay is like
Yeah.
incredibly tight and fluid and it's very fun. There's a lot of neat surprises, Metroidvania-ish upgrades that let you access new areas and stuff like that. They actually have like a system in place that's I think really smart because it's a roguelike. So you start over every time, but eventually you will unlock the ability to unlock teleporters permanently. And that means like even though it's a roguelike and you're starting over every time, you can still progress in the world and not have to redo the beginner areas every time.
Yeah, it's like set up with a bunch of. There's this starting area, and then there's a bunch of biomes that kind of branch off of it. And you can teleport to the start of any one biome once you unlock the teleporter for that biome.
Yeah.
Does it screw you over a little bit though? Because I know pretty much any roguelike I've played that has a teleporter, it just means go straight to the part that's way too hard and die right away.
Normally
don't have
that's
any, like, gear.
true. But in this case, it's not. So the way the upgrade system works in Rogue Legacy 2, you have a meter, I guess, I don't know what to call it, called Resolve, which is just like start with like 200% or something. And each artifact you pick up that's like a permanent buff takes away some of that. And once that drops below 100, you start losing max health based on how much lower it is than 100. So you can only pick up so many permanent items. So whether or not you get them in the easy area or the hard area, you're still only going to get like 4 at a time.
And I feel like they don't like they make you feel a little bit more powerful in some instances. Some instances like quite a bit more powerful, but that's kind of rare, I feel like.
Yeah.
They just kind of change some of the way you would approach a situation, I think, more than anything.
It doesn't have the normal roguelike thing where you're on a super good run and you keep stacking items that work really well together. It doesn't have any of that.
Doesn't
It's
have
just
the Binding of Isaac feel where you
No.
don't
No.
you don't get chocolate milk and you're like, yes.
yeah, the only rogue elements are you start back over and you're upgrading like your home base, which upgrades your stats and stuff. So it's a constant
Yeah, you're
dying and upgrading your
slowly
stats, really.
you're slowly gaining little bits of power over time
Yeah.
to help you explore the world more.
You almost
I mean,
never have a random spike.
It almost feels more like a Metroidvania than a roguelike.
Yeah.
Right.
Agree.
Interesting.
Also, I played it a bunch and I was like, man, this feels so much like the first Rogue Legacy. And then I went and I looked back at the first Rogue Legacy. They have done a lot A lot of work for Rogue Legacy 2. It
Wow.
feels the same when you're playing it, just a little bigger. And then you look back at the old one and it's like, oh man, they did way more than I thought.
They talk a lot about how much effort they put into getting 0-frame inputs to make the gameplay feel so good.
It does feel good.
And like that actually has contributed to an issue that some players are getting, where if you're a person that uses your left stick by like flicking it most of the time, then a lot of times your character will end up facing the wrong direction because the inputs are so instantaneous that there's no buffer. So like when the stick flicks back, it'll flick your character the wrong way. And they have a patch they're working on to try to figure out how to deal with that. They say they're working on a player intent system that they're going to put in the game to know whether the input should actually flip your character around or not.
Jeez.
Did you say
Rather
player
than-
intent?
Yeah, like they're going to code like some sort of
So-
AI to understand your intent in the inputs.
Sounds like a.
They're just going to get
negative
Google
latency.
Stadia to
Yes.
run everything.
That is
Well, they-
exactly.
They're like, we could very easily solve it by adding like a very small buffer, and then like realizing if it only goes for like 1 frame, then you're not trying to turn around.
Hmm.
But that would ruin the integrity of our 0 input lag system. Like, so they didn't want to do that, which I kind of admire. I don't know.
Seems like I had a lot of effort, but I guess, you know what? They're sticking to their guns. I take it. I'll take it.
Overall, a super fun game. I keep on finding new things. Like you unlock more and more stuff for like your starting area. You get like this little house that has like a bunch of challenges in it. And to unlock challenges, you have to go like find secrets in the world to unlock them, and then you can just like do them over and over again. Quite tough. It's a really hard game actually. I'm getting
Very
destroyed.
difficult.
It took me like 8 hours to beat the first boss. Not of like constantly fighting the first boss, but like getting a run that I could beat the first boss in.
Seems cool.
It's got another
I feel like I need
system.
to play it.
Yeah, I think you'd
Really
like
good.
it. It's got another system that actually works really well where you can lock the world.
Mm.
So every time you do a run, the world regenerates itself and it's like a different map. But I wasn't beating the boss, so I eventually got a run where the boss was like relatively close to the start. And I went to the guy to lock the world, and there's a trade-off of like you give up like most of your gold in a run that the world's locked in, and it scales up exponentially to the point where like you're basically getting nothing from the run. But I used that to just repeatedly fight the boss over and over again, and eventually I beat him. So it's a really cool system for like overcoming specific challenges. There's also like challenge rooms that have fairy chests in them that you could do the same thing with potentially.
Cool.
Yeah.
Caleb, move on to you. What have you been playing?
So other than Rogue Legacy 2, I played this game recently called Haiku the Robot. Just came out. It's a little Metroidvania game. It took me like 5.5 hours to beat. It is, most of the time, it is basically a carbon copy of Hollow Knight, which is good and bad, because Hollow Knight's amazing. But I don't know, I feel like it could use innovation in some areas. But
feel like-
it has almost like copy-pasted enemies in places, and
Weird.
it's
You feel like when
very,
they-
very similar.
When they do that it's like, it's not like in honor of how good and effective that game was. It's just taking that concept and just copy pasting because they feel like it will sell the game or promote the game.
I don't know, really. I feel like it was just these people really, really liked Hollow Knight and really liked some of the different enemy types and stuff, and so they thought they'd pull them in. And it still kind of works in the world because it's, you know, it's a different themed world. It's all about these robots infected with a virus. So you can already tell the comparisons to Hollow Knight. But it's about all these robots infected by a virus, and you're going through and defeating them all and freeing them from the infection. But it is really solid. It is way smaller, like I said, than Hollow Knight. 5.5 hours. But pretty good. A lot of fun.
I don't even know what the time to beat is on Hollow Knight, but it is significantly more than 5.5 hours.
Yes. Yeah.
Very
And if you're
intense
doing
game.
like
It's only
a
like
full
20
playthrough,
something.
it's like 40 if you're going for the extra endings.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't even gotten the extra endings yet. I'm like 50 hours in, so and it's but I suck at games, so that could contribute. I'll go next, just real quick for me. I've been getting back into some Rocket League. Man, what a solid game. It's just a good game. If you've never played it before, just go try it. It's like soccer with cars. Fun, except you're flying around with rockets. It's a very complicated game, and I feel like the curve is just... Most people are like, they're fairly fine at driving around cars and jumping a little bit and using rocket boosts a little bit, but then you get to this point at which like all of the good players exist because they're aerialing across the map, just spinning, spiraling, jumping off the ceiling, the walls, flipping upside down, and somehow scoring goals on you. That, I think, is the point at which Rocket League isn't fun anymore. So I just got to keep my like from moving up in the brackets at all, so that I just maintain the level where I'm constantly playing with people who play like I do, the style I do. Otherwise, no bueno. Nobody else here still plays Rocket League, right?
I've never played Rocket League.
Sorry.
No. What is Rocket League?
Dead game.
It's Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket Powered Battle Cars is what it is.
Mhm.
Well, the sequel to that.
Like
Yeah.
soccer with cars? Weird.
Pretty crazy.
And when you say the idea that somebody would be listening to this and just have completely no idea what Rocket League is, and you just introduced it to them,
So what you do is you play the Stanley Parable, and that's only a slight joke because there is a Rocket League ending in the Stanley Parable from what I was watching.
Excellent.
Jake. So like,
Of course
Good
there is. Well, they picked the best games.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Makes total sense. Probably a Dota
Yeah.
ending too. Love it.
I'm
Love
sure.
probably like 6 Dota endings.
Last but not least, Owen, what have you been playing lately?
Oh hey, I've been doing some potion crafting over here, and I've been playing this game called Potion Craft, and it's been a lot of fun. I saw it at PAX, and it's just honestly been a really fun game where you craft a bunch of potions, and the cool mechanic is that you have a map and you got to move around the map to be able to kind of move your potion to where it would be on the map, and that's how you create it. So it's not just like, 2 Ninroot and a carrot, and that makes your health potion or whatever. You have to kind of like see on the map where each ingredient would move your little icon to, and then try to line it up with the potion that you want it to be, and then get it there.
I feel like you missed the coolest game mechanic, which is crafting potions. I know that you really like the movement of stuff around, but I think crafting potions is the best game mechanic in the game. Right, because that's what it's about, crafting potions, correct?
I mean, it and selling the potions. You got
Did you play it, Aaron?
No, I did not play it.
Okay.
I saw it when we were at PAX, and I was just like, man, there are games for people.
There
And then there are...
were 4 video games for crafting and selling potions, and then there was another one that I saw in the board game section. So apparently this is just the year of buying and selling potions and crafting them.
I actually do think Owen, for once in his entire life, is right in that the exploration part. The exploration part of that game is like the interesting part of it.
Someone clip that. I need to hear that before I go to bed every night. I'm sorry. What did Alex just say? That I was right?
Oh, woof.
The exploration in that game is fun.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's not fun in that game, though, is the bartering.
True.
Bartering, yeah, no.
Fun fact, the bartering system that we played in PAX is not the bartering system in the game right now.
Oh, that's weird.
We played a demo of them trying out a new bartering system.
Mm.
And so because I was playing I am playing here at home, and it was just hilarious because I'm looking for the options to like go from like easy to medium or hard bartering, and there is no option. It's just one bar and it's just go. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And it makes a little bit more sense because I know when we were doing the demo at PAX, like after you click a couple of times, eventually it would just end. Whereas like you could just infinitely go until you got the number to be where you wanted it to be, and then end it there and be fine.
Mm-hmm.
To which I was like, oh, okay, cool. So there's a different bartering system in the game currently.
But it's the same base mechanic. You're still
Yeah.
clicking on little bars within the moving.
Exactly. It's still the same base mechanic. I will say that the things that we didn't see at PAX that I'm enjoying right now is that there are some more ambiguous character requests, because like the people will come to the shop and they say, hey, I want to buy a potion from you. And like, you know, the stuff that you see at the lower levels and the stuff that we saw in the demo was just like, I want to buy a potion because I lost an arm. What potion would you have? Because I lost an like, it's very like obvious, but like later where I'm at now, it's just kind of like the one that I'm currently doing is like, oh, hey, I can't open this lock and I can't smash it with a sledgehammer. What can you do to help me? And I got no idea out of like my 8 options what potion that this person wants, but you only get 3 chances to get it right, because after
Did you try the lock opening potion?
That's not a potion.
Not one you found yet.
That is not an option that's there. I've tried various different ones. I'm gonna try explosion and see, or acid, and see if those might be the 2. But you only have 3 attempts to give them the right potion, and if you don't give them the right potion by attempt number 3, they just leave your store and they fucking hate you.
I bet
They're
it's
just
the
like-
potion of being happy with your potion.
Oh,
Yeah.
They could have that, like a potion that extends a customer's willingness to stay around and wait on you make a new potion.
I like them.
The other thing is there's also combining potions, which gets real weird. There, because then you can have like, hey, here's a potion that'll give you health and also help you fall asleep tonight.
So combining is the word that you tried to say. Yes.
Yeah,
I really
Combining.
like combining, because you're binding the potions together. You're combining and binding them at the same time.
we had to make up for what Alex said earlier.
what that was right.
Mhm.
Yeah, we had to instantly have to fuck something up. That's fair. And also apparently in the full game, which this is still in some sort of open beta-ness, so it's not fully released. But there's going to be storylines and things to go with the karma system, because there is a karma system of like, hey, this guy's going to use this potion to kill someone. I probably don't want to give him this potion.
Give him 2.
I mean, you could do that too. I haven't been doing that, but they said that eventually they're going to add in things that'll be like, hey, if if you're X good, other patrons will show up, or you'll get a bonus to your reputation or something like that. Or if you're X bad, you'll get more of those patrons showing up. You'll get more assassins and thieves and things that'll be like, hey, I need more things like that. So yeah, it's a fun game. I'm looking forward to a full release of it because it's really well done.
Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about PAX, since you've already kind of like brought us right into at least one of the games that we saw there. We recently went to PAX East 2022, which was held April 21st through the 24th. If you've been a long-time listener to this podcast, which I think there's like 7 of you, then you will note that we have been doing PAX East podcasts for quite some time. It's one of our favorite events to go to. This year, we took 12 people. We stayed at a house just in South Boston, and then we got to hang out at PAX for 4 days straight. It was fun, but there are some caveats to that. This year's PAX was a little bit different than any of the PAXs of the past, I would say. Mm-hmm. Lesser attendance, smaller show floor, maybe not quite as robust of schedule when it came to panels. Altogether, a little bit subpar to some past PAXs. But what I want to do is I want to go through a couple things here. We'll kind of go through them in order. But show floor, we'll talk a little bit about the show floor and kind of the experience of PAX itself. Then we'll talk a little bit about some panels that people attended and anything that stands out as far as games or relevant things in that realm. One of the positive benefits I will say about this year is actually getting into PAX. I don't know if this is a combination of less people at PAX and just better detectors, but it was very easy to get in the front door.
Those new detectors are great. I love them.
I can remember years past where we waited in line for half an hour or an hour or maybe sometimes longer. This was very efficient. They did a very good job of it. And on top of having the scanners, we also had to have a little almost like a wristband kind of that identified vaccination status. So it took a while for them to check IDs and cards and put a wristband on, but it's still very, very efficient as far as processing people's concerned.
Oh yeah, it was insane how fast, and also the bag line actually was moving very quickly because of those new the new detectors. You didn't need to get your bag checked every time you walked in, so half the time you could just walk straight in with a bag of magic cards or whatever, and you're fine, which was awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, so Alex and I were talking about this. We have no idea what the technology is, what it's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I
Nope.
went through it, I was talking to Ben or Chris about it, and none of us could figure out what was going on.
And it's not a metal detector,
They
because
seem
I
to
always
have
had metal on
cameras.
me.
Yep.
They seem to have cameras on them, and there was people at like screens,
Mhm.
and the cameras were like drawing boxes around different things on people. They were they're like looking for something.
Probably very
almost-
similar to the airport ones.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The little roundabout things that they have at the airport.
But
seem
like,
similar.
I have to stop at the airport. I have to put my hands up.
Yeah, I put my
And then
hands
I
up in the
have
air.
to-
They're like,
This I
"Don't
just
you
walked
move, or
through.
we'll
I didn't
tackle
even
you."
break stride. I didn't
Yeah.
even slow down.
Even when
But
they
that-
said stop, you just kept going.
Yeah, I just kept going. That's
Yeah.
why we got in so fast.
They did yell at people for like they're like one at a time, but then they wouldn't stop anybody. Like
Yeah.
they'd be like, "Hey, stop walking through multiple people at a time, but also keep on going because we're getting through this."
Also, don't
Yeah.
slow down.
Don't
Also,
stop,
hurry
can't
up.
stop.
So that was a plus. The other plus I would say from this show, from my perspective, as far as just the floor and the setup, was actually the food options, which sounds really stupid.
Oh
but
yeah.
in the past at PAX, there has been, and in fact, it used to be significantly worse than it is, even or it was even the last few years. But in the past, it's just been not a lot of options, hugely long lines, very expensive food, and just no place to sit down and eat. This year, they had probably, 12 food trucks, I would guess, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Lines were quick. You could go outside on the lawn on D. Just, they did a good job of coordinating that.
Well, also some of those food trucks, and I don't know how much of that you saw, but some of those trucks were invited inside, taking up the spots that used to have just like hot dogs and pretzels. And
Yeah.
so it was like, no, there's like a barbecue group there, or like a chicken place. And so I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, it's neat to see that they brought some of those people more inside into those areas that like obviously nobody was buying those like, the regular convention food from them, and kind of spacing it out a bit more.
I'm pretty sure in 2020 that was occupied by an Overwatch Lamborghini.
Well, I'm talking about on the like in the halls where like Albatross is, not downstairs, because
Gotcha,
you're right.
gotcha.
There was also the ones that were on the show floor itself, which was
Yeah.
also kind of nice.
One
Uh,
other benefit of this year, I think, which I think this is more an effect of having not gone last year, is that we didn't have one of those years where half of the show floor is exactly the same as the year before. We're
That's
only seeing
true.
the same things over and over.
That's
Which is
true.
probably just 'cause we
Borderlands
didn't
2
go last
wasn't
year.
there.
Weird.
It's a little heartbreaking.
Very. Okay, show floor related things. Let's talk about the layout of the floor and things we saw on the floor. First and foremost, before we even went on this trip, we pulled up the floor plan and we looked at it in comparison to 2020. It looked a lot smaller.
Mhm.
Lo, lo and behold, it was a lot smaller.
It was
Weird.
weird how that worked
didn't-
out.
I didn't believe it, but it was true. It
Like-
was smaller.
20% of the show floor is Intel. It looked like.
Yeah.
Man, a huge booth.
As much as we give Intel shit for that, it wasn't just their booth, which I think has to be said in their defense,
It's
because
still like PC gear though. Like it's all stuff that has Intel processors in it.
yeah, but I'm just saying is that like it wasn't just like the Intel booth, it was like theirs, but also MSI was there, Newegg was there, there was someone else that was also there. Like it was several different like large companies kind of combining into one thing. Whereas like previously, I remember the last year that I went to PAX, there was an MSI booth that was pretty fucking big. There was an Intel booth that was pretty fucking big. There was like a Newegg booth that was so like all they've done was really just mashed them all together, which was like, sure, fine, go for it.
They had a lot of show floor to sell.
They did have show floor to sell, and they probably could have sold more, in my opinion.
I think there was probably some general concern, and honestly, as our company, the company I work for, we do a lot of trade shows, and this year being like the first year, sort of post. It's not post-COVID, but it's definitely like out of the really bad years of COVID. We took a step back too, and we were like reanalyzing. All right, is it worth it to go to spend $15,000-$20,000 to go to a show plus hotel and food for like 6 to 8 people to maybe not even have the foot traffic that we've had years ago? It's hard to say. I mean, it's hard to say it's unfair if companies not coming, but at the same time, it's like also if we want PAX to continue, devs have to show up, attendees have to show up, panelists have to show up. People really have to just be back at the show to make it feel like what it was prior to COVID.
Mm-hmm. A lot of companies that just got used to just releasing their own announcements online, or like the Steam stuff has changed a lot of things too, like the Next Fest and all that stuff where everybody just puts their demos out on Steam.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say that seemed to be the consensus that I was talking with, at least Chris and Bennett. I don't know if you guys thought the same. Was exactly like, before you would go and you'd play games that didn't have demos out. Now, pretty much every game that we saw on the show floor, there was a demo already on Steam. And so it was like, why am I waiting an hour or whatever to get into one of these computers when I could just be at home still, download the demo, and just play it right now?
Yeah. I will say there's like
hand,
plenty of stuff that I would have never found the demo for.
Sure.
Like, it's still effective as a marketing thing, I think, for like getting eyes on your product.
Well, unless you're Caleb and you go download every demo on Steam and play them all, you don't get to experience all the things that don't fit in the categories that you normally play. So that's why it's nice to have the show floor, because then you can walk around and you experience things you wouldn't. Like, I would have never, ever downloaded Eternal Return. Never. And yet, somehow, that was probably one of my favorite games that I played at the show. I don't know why, but it would not have fit.
It's like a weeb anime game, and you're actually secretly a weeb.
Anime
does make sense.
Okay, anime is a tag I have in Steam turned off, so it doesn't send me anything that's anime related.
Well, to be fair, half of the Steam anime games are just like hentai dating sims, so I don't blame you for that.
Okay, so we talked about floor a little bit, kind of smaller. We had a couple of bigger companies that bought a lot of floor space. We also had some companies that bought floor space but really didn't do anything other than maybe selling some merch. BioWare had a booth that had nothing in it except a merch store, which was
well. So I looked at that because it wasn't the BioWare booth; it was the BioWare merch booth. So it was specifically their like merchandise companies like thing. Like
it's the same thing.
It's not. That's my point, though. Is that it's not.
They bought a booth for BioWare, and BioWare was like, just sell them T-shirts.
No,
I don't fucking know.
It's that's what I'm saying, though. It's not BioWare, it's their merch company. Like, they're two separate entities. It looks like BioWare, but it is not actually BioWare. It is somebody that just sells BioWare shit.
That's weird.
They license all their stuff to a separate merch company.
Exactly, Alex. Like, it's just like some other third company that's not even them. So you're like, why? What?
Listen, if they were selling square footage at the show floor for cheap, and they felt like they could get a return selling BioWare merch, which I'm sure a lot of people went and bought merch there, then why not, I guess. But
sure.
I don't know.
Is there a bunch of Anthem merch there?
Tons.
I did see a lot of people walking around as
a lot of Anthem 2.0 merch.
Anthem next, coming soon.
Oh man, can't wait.
Stage 2.
Anthem Stage 2.
Anthem Stage 2. Yeah, there you go. So, again, some big companies bought a lot of square footage on the floor. We also saw some companies that had just fully merch booths. The show floor itself was a little bit smaller. They definitely had some of the board game area that had expanded towards the front, as well as they had some just general open space. Like, the aisles were bigger. The space where they had food trucks inside were previously occupied by things. I really think, actually, the like footprint of each of the small indie booths was just larger in multiple spots, and you could tell because you'd walk up and they'd have 2 10-foot tables and 2 TV screens. Like they're not planning for a 20-foot long booth. They're planning for 10 feet to put a couple screens in there, and they just had more real estate. So it didn't necessarily feel as tightly packed as past PAXs. 2019 actually stands out vividly for me because you could not really move. You were kind of like arms to your side, kind of squeezing between people, and it was awful. So that was a benefit. But
the flip side of that coin is that there were a lot less things to see. So on Saturday, when everybody was there, the lines were excruciatingly long for all the games because there just weren't that many lines. Weren't enough lines to fill all the people.
Right. And I'm sure that, and PAX hasn't published attendee numbers for years. They used to publish every year, but I think they got to a point where they were just like, we don't need to publish these numbers. People are showing up, right? And, I'm sure this year it would be down significantly, but it was clear to me on even Friday that there were a lot of people who still chose to come out and go to PAX. Even with everything going on, all the restrictions that PAX had in place in order to attend the event, people wanted to be there. They want to see developers in person. They want to interact. They want to cosplay. It was still a busy event. I didn't go on Saturday, so I can't speak from that perspective, but even Friday was pretty busy.
I mean, Saturday was, I would say, usual Saturday packness. It felt very busy.
Yeah.
Saturday was actually sold out, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it was sold out.
I believe it was the only day that was sold out.
So let's talk about games now. We've talked a little bit about the layout. Game-wise, I think we'll just kind of go around in a circle and talk about some games we have here. Caleb, you want to start if there's things that stood out on your list, and then people can jump in if you say things that people liked.
Sure. Yeah, the first one I really gravitated towards was one of the Devolver games called Cult of the Lamb. It would look like a little roguelike game, very, very Binding of Isaac-like. So, I'm already obviously interested. And with a really cool looking theme where it's like, I guess you're creating a cult. You are the lamb, and you're like bringing people to your cult. That's kind of how it went. I don't know. It was a really neat theme.
It literally looks like you're like a lamb brought to slaughter. You're like the last possible heir to this like prophecy, and so they kill you. But then this elder god's like, they thought they could kill you, but like, nah, dude, go start a cult in my name. So you're like starting this cult for this elder god. It looks pretty. It looks awesome.
It looks great. We didn't get a chance to play it. We were in line one day for like a short time, and they were like, "Oh no, we got a media thing, so you guys gotta leave."
Yeah.
Okay.
They had,
and the lines the other days were a lot longer.
well, but they also had like one seat, right?
Yeah. It was one big screen, and people seemed like the demo was not a short one at all.
Yeah.
This year was a weird year for demos. It felt like every place was like, 45 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah.
Don't let us
Yeah.
It was a really weird year.
There was, not to jump in front of you, Caleb, but that game, No Place for Bravery?
Yeah.
Is that what it was called?
Yep.
Yeah, the line was like 2 hours long, but there were only like 5 people in line because every person played for like an hour.
Yeah.
They had like
It was
3
insane.
stations for it. It was ridiculous. Like, y'all, just cut it shorter.
I
Yeah.
don't know why the demo
It's a
was that
demo.
long.
I don't know.
That game was a lot of fun, though. I had a blast with that.
Yeah.
If you
What was
played
that one?
Children of Morta, it's like a single-player version of that. It felt like really pretty pixel art, kind of a isometric hack and slash. It was called
What was it called?
No Place for Bravery by Easebrid Games.
Yes, they're like
How
the
you pronounce
publisher,
that?
though. I don't know who the developer would be.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, Yeezbrid.
He's brewed. Developed by Glitch Factory.
That's going to be my next guess.
They develop anything else?
Glitch
Nothing.
Factory.
Nothing else. First game.
Just curious. Might be. I don't
I
know.
mean, could be.
Well, I'm curious.
Yeah.
You
Party
gotta start somewhere.
Saboteurs.
Right.
After Party.
Oh,
After
they did
Party.
After Party.
Not After Party. Not that After
Not-
Party.
Not that
A
after party.
different after.
What does
party.
that mean?
I don't know.
Not the after party made by the people that made. Wow, I lost the name of that game.
That one game?
Struggle.
Oxen.
It's called Party Saboteurs, actually. Also, there's
Oh.
another one called Oni Run.
Mm.
They have 3 games.
Cool.
What else stood out, Caleb? I don't know how many games to give you here because I'm sure you have a giant list.
I don't have an enormous list. I feel like I wasn't that impressed by most games this year.
Right.
Wow, hard to please.
he is.
I got a couple, I guess I could call out. We got Moon Scars, which is a 2D Souls-like game. Looked a lot like Blasphemous, if you've played that. It seemed like it was probably a Metroidvania in some way. Looked very similar to Blasphemous, a little more dreary and grim looking, but otherwise very similar. Pixel art, beautiful animations. Very cool game.
Best character name ever.
Yeah, it was a Gray Irma.
Gray Irma.
Irma. That's right.
What a name.
Oh man.
As a
Pretty
freaking
bad.
dope heavy hammer attack animation is dope.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, the animations look slick.
When you played that, did you realize that you could dash during the animation
No,
and it would just continue the animation?
that seems pretty good.
It's very good.
Nothing else really. Move on to somebody else, I guess.
Okay, those two things. Jake, how about you?
Oh, me. Okay. So, well, these first two I actually didn't play until after PAX. I didn't feel like waiting in line for them, so I just downloaded the demos later. The first one is Turbo Overkill. It's Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal. It's like that. The main difference is you have a slide, and when you slide, your legs are chainsaws. So you just slide into people and you kill them with your chainsaw legs, which admittedly is a pretty good upgrade. I liked it a lot. It's pretty fun. I don't know that it's as like tightly designed as Doom Eternal. They obviously have a lot less money than the Doom guys, so it looks a lot worse. But it's got that same kind of fast-paced, kind of frantic combat feel. So I had a lot of fun with it.
I feel like it has like the old Doom look, the aesthetic.
Yes, very much
but
so.
The mobility still feels there. Like if you go play like Doom Eternal or just Doom 2016, highly mobile game. This felt that mobile. It just didn't look quite as pretty. It just looked, that traditional Quake Doom style.
Yeah, very boxy, low res. Yeah, the slide is so nice because you get so much speed off of it. It's ridiculous. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
The other one I played was a little game called Tinykin. I've never actually played Pikmin, but I think it's like Pikmin.
Okay.
You basically you're like, I guess you're like the world's tiniest man. You're this very small fella, and you end up like in someone's living room, and you've got to like gather all this shit to make a spaceship so you can leave. And so there's like a pretty long demo on Steam right now, but the first section you're like, these people like worship this poster for like a boy band. So you've got to like get the disc for that boy band, put it in the CD player and play it, and they all like freak out and give you the thing you need. It's a lot more, again, I haven't played Pikmin, but it's got a very heavy exploration focus that I don't think Pikmin has, as far as I'm aware. It's a lot less like trying to solve a puzzle and more just like trying to find as many guys as you can, so that way you can break down that door to get to the next part. Or just finding like collectibles like, oh, I got a piano key that I then carry all the way over to the piano so I can open a door in the piano, because that's how pianos work, I guess.
Correct, it is.
Yeah. But it's fun. It's kind of nothing special, I would say, but it's fun.
I feel like they got the idea for this from a panel we went to 3 years ago, where there was the suggest your game idea or whatever.
Video game idea.
Yeah, and one of them was World's Tiniest Man. And it was was like the whole pitch. Pretty sure they were at the panel and we're like, let's make a game.
Yes, that was such a good idea too. Where is the world's tiniest man? He's in a cabinet. He's in a hat. In the cabinet. What a good panel. That was such a good panel. Is that all you got?
I must have had. I can do one more. Save that one for Alex. So I will talk about Keylocker, because I don't think anyone else is going to talk about Keylocker. It's like a JRPG, kind of cyberpunky with a musical emphasis. You basically play as like a singer, and you are trying to basically get a band together to save the world with rock and roll. It's something like music is like this. it's like a very powerful force, and so you gotta like assemble a band to like take out this like power corporation that's like monopolizing the world's power. I really liked the aesthetic. That's really what drew me to it. The combat system also does something that I always love in JRPGs, where it's sort of like a little mini game when you're playing it. It's not just I hit you, then you hit me, then I hit you. It's like you got to time button presses to like do extra damage, or you can actually dodge enemy attacks and take 0 damage. It really just makes it a little more interactive than just slapping each other back and forth. But that's also a demo on Steam, and it's really good.
Of course it is. They're all demos on Steam. We've learned this year. It's crazy.
It's true.
Crazy. Owen, how about you? What do you got?
Oh, hey. So yeah, going with the potion themes, other than Potion Craft, there's a game called Potionomics, where that one is a little bit more anime style and deck building. You have your haggling of selling potions to your customers. It all comes in a deck. And so then you're trying to use different cards to try to upsell the price or to, impress your customers of the potion, and then they'll buy it for a higher price. And then you kind of continue that loop. Also, I was talking to the guy that wrote wrote all of the scenes for the game, because apparently there was things about creating relationships with your customers, so much so that you can even date some of them. So it's not just a potion crafting deck building game, it's also a dating sim. And so I thought that was kind of neat. And I'm looking forward for that coming out.
You think we're going to get to a point where people aren't like, let's combine all of the genres of the really popular games into something, then like an amalgam of everything, and it'll sell.
They'll always keep doing
is
it.
that not just Grand Theft Auto?
Wow.
I'm just saying Grand Theft Auto has sports inside of it, because you can do tennis and golf and stuff. Like, that's in the game already. There's racing. There's first or third person shooter
genres.
You could probably, every time you die, restart, so then you get a roguelike. And then you could maybe put in some dating stuff, and now you got Ding Sims. I think, honestly, I'm just saying, is GTA 6 is just going to be everything in one game, and you're done. I think you can roll around from some bosses, and that can be your Souls-like. You got to roll.
If you think about it, every game has some RPG elements now. I think it's more like that.
Like they've adopted that specific component of all the games into what they're doing, even though it may not be.
You gotta put a little bit of everything in everything.
Right.
Also, I was very impressed with a game called The Last Hero of Nostalgia. And
Nostalgia?
Yeah. I asked how you pronounce it, and it is nostalgia.
That's wrong.
I think that's incorrect.
Just wrong.
Well, that's what the people that worked on it said.
I also think they say it differently in the trailer.
They do, and the entire reason they say it differently in the trailer is because they're fucking with you.
Great advertising, dude.
Which is why I love the fucking game, because they're just fucking with the first thing that you do in this game, because it's a Souls-like satirical game, is okay, you have your character, and then you go to character creation screen. Your stick figure, no matter what you do on these bars of age, hair color, weight, any of these things, face, doesn't change anything on the stick figure. You're a fucking stick figure. And I loved it so much, because I was just sat there and I was like, Alex would sit here for an hour trying to get the stick figure to look right, and it doesn't change anything, and I love that.
Okay, obviously, if it doesn't actually change anything, I'm not going to sit there for an hour.
Are you sure?
Sorry.
Because I'm pretty sure you would try every option just in case one of them was a secret thing to make it look good.
Yes.
Get out of here.
But I thought it was a very fun and entertaining game, so I thought that was neat.
You play it?
Well, yeah, I played it.
You liked the gameplay?
I liked the gameplay.
I hate you, Owen.
I knew this was gonna come out.
Why, Alex?
You'll play every Souls-like game but Elden Ring.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Hell yeah. Because I like Souls games that don't take Souls games seriously, so I'm in. Um,
The problem
Also-
is you're missing out on like quite possibly one of the best games of, I don't know, the past 20 years.
and I played Witcher 3 like 10 years too late. So you know what? I'm okay with this.
You'll get there eventually. I got it.
I got there. It was
You
on
have,
sale
a,
for $5.
you have a
And I'm like,
responsibility to play it before Game of the Year.
oh, I will tell you right now, I will not do it. I will watch Jake stream it at some point some more, and that has already made my opinion of it.
Yeah,
so
dude, I'm gonna stream it more. It's been out for like 2 months, but yeah, for sure, dude.
I'm good. I'm good on the Elden Ring. I am surprised Jake and Caleb didn't talk about Rusted Moss.
I assumed Jake was going to, so I actually skipped it.
Because you both were the ones that kept telling me about Rusted Moss, and then I finally checked out Rusted Moss. I didn't get a chance to play it because the line was too long, but it seemed cool. It's a Metroidvania type game where you have a gun, and the gun is also like a rubber band bungee cord, so you can like swing around places, and you have to try to get like higher up in the tower, so you're trying to go up. So it's got like some Celeste platforming going on. I don't know.
Very physics-based gameplay where you can latch on to a bunch of different
This
surfaces,
looks cool.
and then you have a bungee cord, so you can like jump real high and then fall and then latch on at the last second and repel yourself back up the other side to reach a high up cliff or something.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
good. That's good.
Pretty
I
cool.
like that.
And it likes to make you do that during fighting people, while fighting people, which is
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah. There was also this other Souls-like game called Sturgios. That one I did not get them to actually pronounce, but it was over at the Tiny Build. And
yeah, that one.
it looked like Assassin's Creed and also Kenna and also, I guess, Horizon Zero Dawn, and looked good. Seemed good. Played
I
good.
don't know where you're getting Assassin's Creed from, but it mainly looks to me it was Kenna, but with fun gameplay.
I think it's just because of the ability to swap out all the different weapons the same way that you could do that in Assassin's Creed. Like you could go in with an axe or a sword or a
I
shield.
mean, it's a Souls like.
That's fair. And Assassin's Creed has been getting more and more Soulsy, especially when you do the boss fights. So there's that. And
You love Assassin's Creed? Man, I don't like it.
it's just
I'm
I love
telling you.
exploring all of these like ancient worlds and having a good time and like fighting gods.
Oh my! Listen, seriously though, we're gonna submit a panel for next year where it is literally
Yes.
going to be exactly what we talked about.
Yeah.
You're going to either review or comment on some game that all of us have played, and then we're all just gonna tell you how you're wrong.
And I think that's a great fucking panel, and I want to do it so badly. If there was a year that we could have just done any random panel, I'm pretty sure this would have been the year that we could have done it, and we should have done it.
100%.
We could have
after at
easily
least
gotten one.
after at least one of the panels we went to, for certain, which we'll get to in a minute. But any other games that you had on your list?
Yeah, I think the last thing, it's I guess two last things real quick. One, there's a board game that I absolutely adored called Drag to Riches, where you play as competing drag queens and you had to make your looks inside of a deck builder. That was a lot of fun. And then also in the non-video game category, I took some time to play the Magic the Gathering New Capenna pre-release with Ben and Chris, and that was really cool. I like the new set. It's all 1920s gangster themed, so the art is very cool because it's all like kind of got this Art Deco thing going on with it, and Art Nouveau, and so like all of the cards are just very pretty, and all of the naming and like the kind of theming is very cool because it's all it's all like the kind of got that old school gangster feel to it. There's literally a card called an offer you can't refuse, and I was like, perfect. This is
Make him
this
an
is
offer
the
that he
stupid-
can't refuse.
It's stupid things like that I was like, this is getting me back into some Magic, and that was a good time.
All right, just a side note, quick poll here. How many people in this podcast have actually watched The Godfather? One.
Oh,
That's
it's just
so
me?
two of us. You and I.
Wow.
I knew that
okay.
Alex hadn't watched it.
It's,
Okay,
I mean,
all right.
it's a good flick.
It's maybe one of the best movies of all time. All right, just checking.
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
He'll
cool.
get to it eventually.
Yeah,
It's-
it's gonna
it
be in
is-
that top
It
250.
is all from the top
Top 250,
250,
right?
so I'll get there
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually. Alex, what games did you see?
Sure. Well,
Your enthusiasm is like through the
Yeah,
roof.
holy shit,
What
these
games
gotta
did
be
you play?
great
There-
games.
Yeah, so
Especially if you
there's
don't
a game.
remember them.
I was trying to think of
Game
which
was
one
really
Jake
cool.
said that he was going to leave for me, and I think it might have been No Longer Human.
Yeah, you got it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
You got it in one.
There's a game called No Longer Human. It's like
Go
a
on.
style action, like beat 'em up ish type game. You got like the Devil May Cry, like stylish rating system, fluid combat, all that kind of stuff. It is side scrolling and it is like a wild visual spectacle in that it's almost kind of hard to look at, but also like once you get into the flow state of playing it, it works, I think.
It's all about that flow state, man.
You're a girl, you have a scythe, you friggin' tear some people up. It's a lot of fun to play.
Wait a second. Is this the game that there is no possible way to read the name of the logo?
Yeah, the logo is not
Unintelligible.
readable.
Yeah,
at
it's
all.
it's
Yeah.
like if you took a metal band, because they all have the same style of logos, it's just that like really like crazy script, and then you just made it worse, like
Yeah.
made it even more illegible.
I'll say they're really bad at marketing, because if you go to the Steam page and watch the trailer, the trailer is maybe the worst trailer I've ever seen for a video game.
Wow.
Damn. Okay.
It like doesn't sell the game at all. You can't tell what's happening. They're doing like this like ring of light flash that like goes with the music over the top of the gameplay, which means the gameplay is already hard to understand to begin with, but you just can't see any of it. And they also like cut to a new thing like every 2 seconds, so you have no idea what's happening.
This
It's
is
very
awful.
bad
It's a
trailer.
bad trailer.
I'm watching it right now. This is
very
awful.
Like if I didn't already play this game and know what it was, I would look at this on the Steam page and pass immediately and never look at it again.
What's
Mhm.
incredible is not only is the trailer bad, but the screenshots are so
The screenshots
you just
are
have-
bad too, yeah.
no idea what's going on. It's just
They're
line
very
art.
not good at promoting their game.
Yikes.
Yeah.
But from what I played, it's pretty cool. So maybe
It's
check
actually
it
pretty
out.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even really
Ignore
like
the promotional
stylish,
material.
the stylish games, but I had a lot of fun playing it.
Kind of along the same vein, there's a game called Blind Fate. Ido no Yami. Kind of a
Correct
cool
pronunciation.
concept. Like you're a I try. It's kind of a cool concept. You're like a samurai guy, like a cybernetic samurai dude in a future world, and you're blind. You have to rely on your other senses to like see enemies and figure out where to jump and stuff like that. And like your perspective on the world, it's still a video game, so you still have to like look at a screen to play it. But like they load into your memory like what you remember the area looking like, and that's not necessarily what it is in the world, so you like stumble across stuff. And like you can like feel the heat of like vents or hear enemies and stuff like that to like update your like senses of the world. Pretty unique idea, I think.
Yeah, the concept was cool. I think it needs some work. I feel like there's once you figure out how to fight an enemy, that's how you fight every enemy, and it works perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I think combat needs some work at least. But cool concept.
Yeah. And I didn't like a lot of the stuff we've already talked about. I will say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge was a ton of fun.
Yeah, I didn't get to play it really.
There was an enormous line at that all the time.
We went, me, Aaron, and Eric went like at the end of one of the show floor days. And they like let us hop on while the show floor was closing for a little bit.
We didn't even really get to play because like you and Derek played it first, and then they swapped.
Yeah.
I got to swap in, but we didn't really play a lot in the second half. But even the short amount of time I played was just like a fun side-scrolling beat 'em up, like, classic game. It like the pixel art was great. It was very detailed, but at the same time, it felt very old school. It was very nostalgic. It's a cool game.
It's also cool because like you look at it and you're like, oh, that's Turtles in Time. You're like, yeah, that's totally what Turtles in Time looked like. And then you go look up screenshots of what Turtles in Time looked like. It does not look like that. It's one of those moments where you're like, oh man, your memory really like makes things appear better.
Yeah, I was about to say, Caleb and I had the same experience. We played Dungeon Defenders Awakening, and we were like, I don't know about this game. Let's go play the original. And the original Dungeon Defenders looks like mega ass. It is a good looking game.
No.
It's like borderline unplayable. It's bad, dude. Like, not just visually, like, the menus are just like, what am I looking at? Like, nothing's the right size. It overlaps weird.
All these
It's
symbols
confusing.
mean nothing to you.
Yeah. I have like 90 hours in this game or some ridiculous number. I don't know how to play it anymore.
Funny.
Okay,
That's better look up.
Okay, perfect. I'll wrap this up. I had 4 games that nobody talked about. First and foremost, Plunder Panic. I don't know if everybody got to play Plunder Panic, but it is a 6v6 like action arcade game where you basically play as pirates. There's a captain and then 5 members of the crew, and it's got what's the game, Alex, that you play with the B game, the arcade game, Killer Queen.
Damn it.
Very much has a Killer Queen vibe in the sense that the mechanics of the game exist all on one screen, and there's basically 4 ways to win. It's kind of a platforming game where you're kind of looking at 2 boats kind of facing one another. You've kind of set against this island, and there's 4 ways to win. You can either shoot the enemy ship 3 times with a cannon, you can collect the most gold, you can kill the captain, I think 5 times, or you can go down and row this rowboat full of TNT over to the other ship and blow it up. And so it's very, like, there's just a bunch of stuff going on all at once, and it feels really sporadic, and like you're jumping around the map trying to figure out what like your best route is. But it was really fun, and the booth was actually really busy every day that we were there. I think a lot of people had a lot of fun with this game.
But it's like 8 players at a time, so it moved really fast also.
Well, they were only playing the limited version. So when they full release, it's 6v6, not 4v4.
I'm just saying, like, they actually knew how to run like a demo where they got people through to play.
Oh, interesting.
And like some other people.
It was crazy. They let you play for 3 rounds, and basically they would say, all right, here's the deal. If you're the captain, you get a hat, you get 2 hits until you die. If you're any one of the other people, you can do one of these 3 tasks, go knock it out. And that was it. And they hand you a controller, and it's really intuitive. It's not complicated. X is the action for everything you do. You can go buy a sword so you can attack people if you want. Otherwise, you just pick stuff up and go use it. You either grab gold, you go put it back in your chest. You grab a cannonball, put it in the cannon. You jump in the rowboat, you row it. Or you grab a sword, you fight the captain. Very simple. Very fun. I think they maybe have some work to do on the audio aspect of the game because it was very like, I don't know. I feel like they took sound bites from like a really old game. It didn't feel like it meshed up well with the gameplay. But other than that, very fun game to play. My second game was Orbitals, which was in the same booth, which is in the PAX Rising booth. Orbitals is a game. It's where you're playing as kind of this little guy. It's a I don't know how to describe Orbitals. It's a arena shooter, except yeah, okay, we'll call it an arena shooter. But you have gravity boots, and basically what you're doing is you're flying around, trying to activate and deactivate your gravity boots to attach to like different portions of the map, while also using your weapons and your special ability, because there's like, it's got like an RPG aspect in the sense that everybody has like abilities. It's like Alex played a guy that was basically Goku and would just kill everybody on the map. I just had a really fast shooting gun. But I think what sold me on this game was how well the gravity boots worked. You could not only sling yourself across the map by like releasing and activating your gravity boots like when you're passing by objects, but you can also use your gun to just launch yourself across the map and move, and there were portals, and it was just very mobile and a lot of fun. I don't know how long I would play the game because I feel like unless they had a lot of different types of maps and a way to keep me there, maybe I'm gaining something like cosmetics or something in the game. Otherwise, I feel like it might get old quickly. I don't know. And that's just me.
It feels like one of those games you save for like when people are over or something.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I'll take
hey,
that.
you guys wanna play Smash Brothers, or you wanna play like some Orbitals?
All right. Side note: what was that game we used to play all the time that was on the Xbox? It was like you're playing like 4 UFOs and you're pulling a little orb away from this giant creepy guy.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the name of it.
Yep, Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet.
That's it.
Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet.
Good memory.
What a game!
I
TSP.
thought you meant from like when you were little. It's not
Yeah, I
Battles.
was
Oh, no,
tuning
no,
out
no.
for a minute because I thought I was talking like only Caleb, but
No. Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet. What a game! That's a good game.
that's a cool game. Yeah.
Okay, so that's 2 of mine. I also had Eternal Return.
Why did you bring that up?
I don't know
Did
because
you bring that up?
Just in the middle.
well,
point.
Caleb was talking about things that you're just like you pull out instead of playing Smash Brothers when you have people at your house, and for
Yeah.
some reason,
Yeah,
That's-
Caleb. Look at what you did.
that's what we played when groups would come over to our house, especially back in Ashburn. That's the game we would play. I don't know why, but it was just very fun. Eternal Return. How to describe this game? This is a mobile. It's a MOBA battle royale survival crafter all in one. I would
picked
say.
all of my
You've
least
been on
favorite
fire
genres.
Maybe
Maybe
like a
one of your
little-
least favorite.
Maybe like a little
Anime
less,
also.
less on the survival end. So it's like a MOBA battle royale crafter RPG game. I don't know. It kind of combines all those categories. Basically, what happens is you have a giant map. There's 18 players. You play as any number of people that have like different types of abilities, and you're building to your skills. So it's got like your classic 4-skill combat moves, and what you're doing is you're kind of working your way around the map in sort of a path. You're gathering supplies and resources to build better weapons, better armor, better helmet, better shoes, which basically buffs your stats, so that as you kind of move around the map, all of these areas will close. They'll eventually disappear, which is forcing everybody to come closer to the center of the map. And then all of those 18 people end up fighting in one sector or the other until there's one left standing. It was really unique. I have not played anything like it, but it's also very weird because I felt like because we didn't play against any other actual people, we were just playing against bots, but you could pull an Alex where you don't really attack anybody, and then the bots just kill one another, and then you win automatically.
Smart.
You got
Just
like a
watch
tote
them do
bag
it.
if you manage to get first place, and I was just like hanging out, and then like I was in the last area, and all the bots were just off the map, the part that hurts them, and they died. And I won.
It was
cool story, bro.
It was short enough to not have the problems with like old school battle royale where you didn't have a respawn, but it was also complex enough to like really engage you a little bit with like the ability mechanics of what you're trying to do, because there's also a bunch of NPCs kind of around the map. You're just attacking like random enemies until you actually find an enemy to attack. The looting was interesting. It was pretty easy. It wasn't like super complicated. So it's like a pretty simple game for as complex as it sounds, trying to combine all of those mechanics into one game type.
Everyone has an ultimate, right?
Sure. Not really. Like it doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't
If it's
play
just another
or
skill, that's fine.
it doesn't play or look like an ultimate. But yes, so
Okay.
everybody has 5 abilities basically. You have the 4 main abilities, and then you have like a secondary 5th.
My 4th ability was definitely an ultimate.
Okay, you were playing the only ranged character in the game. Everybody else just has a normal ability for their R.
I had a
Oh.
big beam that murdered anybody that came
Yeah.
at me.
I was
pretty
playing
Not good.
No, I was playing like a mechanic cleaner, and I had a giant like shop broom. Yeah, my ult was not really an ult.
Okay, I was curious how ults play into the whole battle royale piece. Like, do you have it every fight almost?
No, it's a
Or
very
is
long
it
cooldown.
You
It's
get
like
it like once, so you better hold on to it until you know you're losing that fight. And you better throw it.
I would say early game. Well, sorry, after you get it, because it takes a while to actually get to that ability. But after you get it, for the first like couple, I would say 5 or 10 minutes, you have a good amount of time where you can use it, because the cooldown is like somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 to 90 seconds. I don't know exactly,
Okay.
but
Not
it takes a little
crazy.
bit. Yeah, so you can pretty much rely on it battle to battle. But when you get to the end, when you're in the last one, I feel like you're probably just saving it to try and deal with anybody who's left over from the other fights.
Mm-hmm.
The game, it was weird in the sense that it didn't force people to fight. So I feel like you would run into like a strange camping mechanic with a MOBA / Battle Royale, which seems weird because you don't do that in those games, really. I guess you kind of do in Battle Royales, but not really. There's no like circle that was forcing people closer and closer and closer as the game went on. It's just like little sectors would go and disappear. It was cool. I really liked it. Was unique. I had never played anything like it, so I thought it was really fun.
Free to play on Steam, right?
Yeah.
Is it out?
I believe it's out.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, let me look.
It is in early access.
Early access, okay.
Okay.
It was in early access as of October 14th, 2020. So it's been in early access for a minute.
Yeah.
Last but not least, probably my favorite game at PAX was Dome Keeper. I don't know if anybody got a chance to play this, but
I played it.
I watched it.
Yeah, we watched it for a long while, actually. We were really curious about it, but...
It's a very long demo.
It sucked.
Like we've talked about already. It's a very long demo, but it is unique. It's like a roguelite mining game where the premise is you're on this alien planet and you have a dome. That dome is protecting your survivable atmosphere in the place where you live as this small man in a spacesuit. And you're basically drilling down into the core of the planet to find resources to upgrade your dome, upgrade the weapons on the dome, upgrade your spacesuit, with the goal of one of two things, which is what they sort of showcased in the demo. One of them is building a ship and leaving the planet, so you don't have to deal with these enemies anymore. And the other is finding this long-lost artifact that's buried somewhere in the planet that you have to bring back in order to upgrade your facility to the point at which you're impervious to damage from the aliens. So the mechanics of the game are, like I said, you're drilling down, but also there's like a timer. So enemies are just kind of coming on a timer. So you go down, you drill as much as you can, you watch the timer, you fly back to the surface, and then you control the cannon. And you're kind of moving it around the dome, firing at enemies, upgrading it as fast as you can to try and survive. I don't know, it was really unique, really fun. I liked the art style. It was just a blast. Alex, you played it. What did you think about it?
I think it's good.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate that input. That's very good.
I don't know if it's a game I would play necessarily. Like, I don't know. It's
You guys had a lot of margarita.
it's weird.
Yeah, Jesus.
It's a good game.
Somebody has.
It's a weird game. It gets tedious at times. I'm curious to see how like a longer run would go, because obviously they have a point in the demo that they like force it to end.
Is it like a roguelike? Is there like a story?
They didn't expose any of the story. I think it's
He mentioned to us, he was talking to us, and he said there would be a story progression.
Yeah, I don't know.
Still feels like a roguelike though.
About it, but
yeah, I feel like that answer was a little wishy-washy, but
yeah,
it still feels like it's definitely a roguelike. You start with a dome and work down every time. I think you're gonna do runs like that over and over again. There's different characters that I guess will have different abilities, and there's different domes that will be able to do different things.
Now you've got me really intrigued on like how that person got to an alien planet with just a dome.
Right?
Like, what's their goal there? If it's to leave or to become impervious to enemy fire, why are they there?
I guess I say become impervious to enemy fire. It doesn't specifically say that. It just says find an artifact inside the planet or asteroid or whatever you're on and bring it back to the dome. That's the goal. It doesn't really provide you any story elements as to why you're doing it. The other one's pretty self-explanatory. Build a ship, fly off the planet. You're escaping.
Well, yeah, but like, why would you go there if that was your goal?
There were no story elements. It literally launches you into the game.
I'm just curious.
Ah.
I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It was relaxing. I feel like it's the type of game where you can just sit down and kind of zone out and play a lot of it. Not really feel like a lot of stress. No Elden Ring. So yeah, it was a fun game for me.
Find Elden Ring stressful? That's weird.
On occasion.
Man. You
Depends
guys
on what
want me
boss
to
you're
play a
fighting.
stressful game?
Well, I shouldn't have said anything. All right. Let's move on and talk real quick about panels now that everybody's had a chance to talk about games. Panels that stood out to anybody, and I guess we'll just continue around the same circle. Caleb, if you want to start first.
Me first every time.
Do you want me to move? I'll move it. Jake, you start.
Yeah.
Me start.
Get
There was a panel that ProZD was at. It was okay. I really like ProZD. He's a funny guy. The panel was kind of whatever. It was like design your own board game. And it involved a lot of audience participation. And if you've ever been to PAX, the words audience participation should send a shiver down your spine. Because the audience at PAX is awful. They are all idiots. Every last one of them. My favorite moment, they were talking about like mechanics to include in the game. And this one guy was timers. That was his mechanic. Was timers. Timers. And I was like, yeah, dude, more timers. Put timers in this board game. We need more timers. So it's going to be a great game.
Mm-hmm.
They are actually going to build it, theoretically. They say they're going to actually build it.
Yeah, they have a schedule set up to create the game. But we'll see, I guess.
What was
Are there going to be timers in it?
There are not. They decided not to go with timers somehow.
Bummer.
What was it? It was something where the S was a $sign, but I can't remember now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Was it Shell Company?
Shell Company, that's it. And then I had a subtitle, but I don't remember what that was either.
I don't remember either. It's a game about turtles avoiding doing their taxes and also a dating sim.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Shell Company. Okay.
Shell Company. Get
if
it?
I learned anything
like
about
company,
board game pitches, you gotta throw a dating sim in it.
It's
Correct.
true. That was big this year.
Very big.
And
Yeah.
timer.
Why
Timers
don't
are
we?
huge.
Why don't we talk about that wonderful pitch your board game panel that we went to?
Take it away.
Sure, take it away.
I mean, I feel like Aaron had his favorite, which was this wonderful pitch that this person had about you play as a sexy ghost, and we cannot overemphasize the amount of how sexy this ghost is, but you are a sexy ghost in rooms with other sexy ghosts. And here's the dating sim part. You have to either date one of the other sexy ghosts or finish your lifelong dream to make the best batch of whiskey possible, because at the end of the day there's just so many fine spirits.
It delivered so well.
I thought it was a stupid pitch and I loved every second of it.
I really liked it. I appreciated it. The panel, by the way, for anybody who's listening, was very different than the pitch your own video game panel in 60 seconds like we've seen in years past. In that, in years past, the panels have been very much comedic and not realistic. Hence, games like The Littlest Man or Burn Baby Burn or Three-Way Octopus Battle.
Yeah,
like they're not meant like for like real games. This panel we went to expecting the same thing out of board games. Turned out to be like a legit. All right, offer up your thing. We have a panelist. We have 5 panelists. 3 of them are developers. One of them is a publisher, and one of them is, I don't know what he was. Maybe he was also a publisher. But it was really good, actually. They were. I mean,
it was very serious.
Yeah, and you have like typical PAX audience. You have half who are just kind of like making stuff up on the fly or whatever, and then you have the other half who have been working on this board game idea for like the last 6 years, and they come to PAX and they present it as an actual concept.
They've got like a little notebook with all their notes.
Yes,
they're like looking through. I'm like, oh wow, you really ready for this, huh?
They're trying.
They were like, so one guy, they were like, how many cards are in it? And he's like, there's like approximately 104 cards. Yeah, exactly 104 cards in the game.
Including the rules, it was 104 cards, which I was like, wow.
And that, I think actually that was the most unique thing, is that the panel took everything serious. It didn't even matter what it was. It could be an idea that had very little substance to an idea that was almost fully fleshed out. And they would take that and they would run with it. And they would say, all right, like, if you're talking about dungeon delving, you really got to think about the implications of doing this for various cultures, because raiding tombs or places of heritage could be like very concerning. Another one would be like, well, how long is the explanation for it? What's the duration for the rule book? Is it multiple pages? 5 pages seems too long for a 15-minute board game. There's a lot of like actual input into the people who were presenting, which I really liked. But also, I was kind of sad that it wasn't like the video game version.
They were
There were no
surprisingly
memes.
nice to even the terrible ideas.
Yeah.
I feel like most people would have been a lot mean.
Yeah, very much so. Jake, was that your only panel?
Yeah, I think I went to those two. I didn't even really remember the board game one, so.
Okay. Owen, any good panels from you?
I went to the Legend of Zelda panel, which was sharing their, I think it was like the top 36 moments for the 36 years of Legend of Zelda, which I was all on board because I was like, I don't know who these panelists are, but they're going to talk about their favorite moments in Legend of Zelda history. Sure, why not? Like, I'm watching through it, and then, like, they get about 2/3 of the way in, and they're like, all right, we've got our last 8. And now we want to hear from you. What do you guys want to say is like the best moments from The Legend of Zelda? And I walked out of the panel at that point. I was like, nope. I do not give a fuck what other, like, these people are obviously like YouTubers or somebody of note that has some official capacity to talk about this. But like, I wanted to get the fuck out of there because I was like, there's no way this is gonna end well. The first person was talking about the cuckoos, like the chickens in Ocarina of Time. And I was like, not like attacking the chickens. He was just talking about the chickens and how great they were and how cool it was to like watch them walk around. And I was like, this is not a good moment. I cannot fathom the fact that they're taking this seriously right now. Also, that was the moment that I realized I ripped a giant hole in my pants that evening. And so I was like, I probably should just go home.
Moral of the story, don't wear too tight of pants.
On so many
wear
reasons,
pants.
I was like, fuck this, I'm out.
That's not the moral of the story.
That's what I took away.
Yeah.
No.
The G4 panel was actually really cool. That was neat to see them just kind of celebrate and talk about G4 and interact with their fans. And like, I'm not that into the G4 like lexicon of things. I didn't know half the people there. I just know X-Play because that's what I used to watch back when I was a kid. But it was cool to see them talking about the network and what they're up to now and all of the different shows and stuff they're doing. And I'm like, cool, this is neat. I actually like, this seems like a normal panel at a normal PAX that people enjoy. So I was like, awesome.
Was Olivia Munn one of the presenters?
No, Olivia Munn wasn't there, neither was Adam Savage or Morgan Webb, so I was just completely out of my depth of who any of these fuckers were.
I doubt any of them are still with G4, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they're
Adam
not.
Savage is, but yeah,
Teabag.
Olivia Munn's not there, and I don't know what the deal with Morgan Webb is. I haven't heard anything, but I don't think she's currently there at least, so...
Olivia Munn is like an actual actress now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's having John Mulaney's baby. She had John Mulaney's baby? Yes. That happened? Yes. Yeah.
A weird way to say that.
Yeah. That is a weird way to say that.
I just
Like
knew that she was pregnant.
Was it transactional? Like he paid her and she had his baby? I don't know.
It was a little bit like that. Look, I'm not going to get into the celebrity gossip of the entire thing between Olivia Munn and John Mulaney, but it's a little weird. It's a little weird. There's a reason why he then got divorced and like dated her real quick and then stopped dating her, and it was odd. Anyway.
All right. Sorry, I asked.
Alex, panels.
Panels. We went to the Gearbox main theater panel. It was, to quote Owen, fine.
What did they even talk about?
So it was kind of interesting if you're into like how video game developers work behind the scenes, because they talked a lot about like how their company's expanding and how they're really pushing into publishing and how they've created a new like sector of Gearbox for Gearbox Studios, which is working on like things outside of video games. And they showed like a bunch of trailers for like developers that are publishing with them and that kind of thing.
Randy Pitchford had a magic thing that he did.
Yeah, he did a magic trick on stage. It took like 20 minutes. It was so long.
Was it a good trick?
It's good. I mean,
Yeah.
he pulled it off.
It
He
worked.
did like a like I'm gonna guess which character from Wonderlands you're gonna pick. And then like they picked characters and he was like, "You're this one," and they were like, "No." And he's like, "Dang, I'm so bad at this." And then he was like, "But am I?" And then he revealed like a chalkboard that he had written down what they were already before they even came up or something. It was
So they were just like plants.
Really?
Yeah,
It's
plants?
nothing.
Yeah.
It's garbage.
Well, they-
Yeah.
I don't know.
They weren't plants because to prove that they weren't plants, he threw inflatable D20s into the crowd and they just bounced around until they cut off the music, and then whoever had it came up. So-
I don't know.
Still could be plant.
Anytime
Everyone
you're
could
like,
be a
let
plant.
me prove that it's not a plant, I'm like,
That's a plant.
Could be a
that feels
plant.
like a plant.
I don't know. That'd be very hard to influence
keep
the
playing
crowd to
music
still
till
give it
hits
to your
one of
plant.
You know what?
plants.
I think everyone.
But all
except for
three
you
of them
was
at the same
plants.
time?
Oh, they had multiple balls out simultaneously.
Yeah,
because there was
They're-
multiple
No.
people.
They had a lot of plants.
It was just, yeah, exactly.
They
It's
just
just the,
filled the crowd with so
Yeah.
many plants.
it's just the Truman Show. You, Derek, and I were just like the only actually real
Yeah,
live audience
yeah.
members there. Everyone else
And
is
made
a
sure
plant.
we didn't get it.
Correct.
All for this one magic trick.
Mhm.
For us, for the three of us.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was kind of cool from like a being interested in watching like
Magic.
corporate video game talk. I know like a lot of people aren't into that stuff, but I kind of am.
They did talk a little bit about their studio work too, where they're making the Borderlands movie. That was kind of neat. Like
Yeah.
talking about like how they're
Gearbox
expanding to
Studios.
do other things and really gaining a lot of various studios around the world in different countries that are working on all their own projects. It
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
And I actually didn't realize that they were like pushing to become like a major publisher also, and not just publish their own stuff, but like get a bunch of indie devs in there to publish their games too. And they're like, we want to be like the friendliest developer publisher ever. Like we want to help you so much.
Sure.
All these other companies, they just want your money. We want you to succeed.
So that we
You'll
can
love
have
us
your money.
so much. Yeah.
Essentially, yeah. The only other one I think that we haven't talked about that I went to was the No Regrets Game Achievements We Do Over Again panel.
I was gonna let Aaron take that one.
Well, I was going to talk about the worst panel I'd ever been to, but then I was going to list it as the Giant Bomb panel from 2017. I decided not to do
How rude.
Hey,
Rest
that
in
panel
peace,
had
Giant
some
Bomb.
substance. Like this much.
Yeah.
More
yeah.
than the achievement one.
Exactly.
Man.
Someone please talk about it. Yeah, go.
Yeah, you want to go, Aaron?
Yeah, I'll go.
I
We
don't
went to
care.
this panel when and I don't have the description in front of me. It doesn't even matter. I don't even really want to talk about this panel because it was so bad. But the description was like, here are the really most complicated achievements you can do in video games. There's one guy in the audience who knows just one achievement that nobody's ever been able to do before, yada, yada, yada. We walk in the panel, 4 guys sitting up on the stage. The first guy goes, yeah, so we don't really like achievements. And so we're not going to talk about achievements, really. We're gonna reminisce about our time in video games, like the first video game experience we really had that sold us on video games. And that's what we're going to make the panel about. Also, when we're done with this, like when we get towards the end, like 10 minutes into this panel, we're going to start talking about all the things that our development companies are working on. We'll maybe show some trailers for things that we're building, because I know that's why you guys are really here. Meanwhile, I have no idea who these people are. I've never heard of the development company. I've never played any of their games. Postal? Is that what it's called, Alex?
Yeah.
Yeah, they make
Okay.
Postal.
Whatever. I don't know anything about them. I will tell you right now, I will never buy a video game from them. That was the worst panel experience I've ever had at PAX. That was awful.
That's very
Oh.
bad. The fact that the panel was listed to be about something, and then they came in, they were like, we have no notes for how we're going to run this. Also, when we were talking about it, we decided we didn't like the idea, so we're just not going to do it. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
That
it
right-
seems kind of pretty shitty.
That right there sold me on the fact that we could have submitted a panel and probably made it. Well, and the grandma playing Skyrim. Those two things.
I didn't see her panel, but I did see her, and after her panel, and there was just a line of people to go talk to her.
Really.
So I don't know what was going on that panel, but apparently it popped the fuck off.
Hey,
She's a
if
big
it works, it works.
internet celebrity because
Yeah.
she's old and cheap Skyrim.
Yeah.
Good game choice.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else have any other panels that we need to talk about here? I don't think so.
I vaguely regret not making it to the Pro CD Rates Your Anime Waifus and Husbands, but
Mm.
I can watch it online, I guess.
I think that probably would have been the best. Actually, yeah, I should have watched it online before this so I could confirm
I
if it was
should've.
good or not.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
It was
Probably.
sold out, is why we didn't go.
Mhm.
Not sold out, but full.
It was full by the time we were trying
Lined
to
out.
get up there.
To pitch a video game instead, or board game instead, which was fine. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Other things to note in Boston, actually, while we're experience in and around PAX that we should probably talk about. Anybody?
We went to that freaking sick dim sum restaurant.
Oh yeah,
That was cool.
That was a blast. The food was amazing, and it was a fun experience to just have a kind of family style dinner.
What's
Yeah.
that place called? We should advertise for them to our 3 listeners who don't live in
We
Boston.
should.
I don't know.
I can tell you.
I will
from
note that
Quincy.
in
I'll find it.
typical Owen fashion, he didn't want to go with us, so him and Chris were the only ones that sat out while we all had a great time.
Yeah, because we already ate dinner. Because we were told that you guys had dinner plans already, so we thought you fucked off somewhere in Boston and already ate. And so me and him already ate dinner, and then sure enough, you guys all come back all of a sudden, and you're like, "All right, hey, we're going out," and I was like, "Oh, well, I already paid for money this evening to eat food and already ate said food, so." I was like, I guess I'm just gonna chill here.
It was called East Ocean Seafood Restaurant.
That's right.
No,
I knew it had seafood in the name because
Yeah.
we got there and we had 0
we
food.
had no seafood.
Yeah, we
Not a single
ordered no
bite.
seafood dishes.
Also, no one who went had any experience with eating at a dim sum restaurant at all.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
The
The
guys who
menu
were,
was very hard to process. Nobody
Mhm.
knew what we were doing.
It was a very big menu.
But
it
when
was,
we
I
finally
mean,
got the guy over, he was very helpful.
it was. That was the best thing we did, was call him over to give us a
Well, yeah, because
rundown.
he eventually told us, just order this chicken thing. You'll love it. And we're like, okay, I guess. And it was amazing.
It was.
to be fair, I think
Uh,
pretty much everything we got I thought was delicious.
Everything we
Mhm.
got was amazing.
Yeah.
It was interesting that the total bill was like $100 and maybe $30, including
Yeah, it was-
tax and
we got
tips.
so much
For what,
food.
9 people?
Yeah.
For 9
It
people.
was
It was
insane amount of
insane.
food. for
Meanwhile,
the money we paid.
Alex and I went to a restaurant on Saturday for lunch to get a lobster roll, and while we're sitting there, I don't remember who it was. It was either you or Derek. Saw this giant seafood tower go past us, and you were like, "Yeah, we're getting one of those." On the menu, by the way, it just says
Listen.
market.
Sounds like either one of you, really.
So,
I already wanted to order it before I saw it go by.
Yeah, was
Uh-huh.
it market price, and then you start
It was
crying?
market price.
It was market
did they
price.
shop at?
Yeah, it was $150 of market price.
Mhm.
$150 for that seafood tower.
Was it worth it?
It was
It was
our
delicious.
appetizer, and it was more expensive than our entire dim sum meal that fed all of us.
It was very good. I don't know that it was worth $150, but it was very, very good.
Probably wasn't worth $150, but it was still very good. It's worth it one time, maybe, just
Yeah.
to have the
For the
experience.
experience. Mhm.
You know, we said that once before about the $38 lobster roll that we bought at Neptune Oyster, and yet
And then you keep going back.
That's more like a one time a year thing.
Okay.
Oh, so
Update it.
it rules that out the seafood tower because we only go to Boston, I don't know, once a year.
Once a year.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't do the seafood tower again.
Uh-huh. That's like
I don't
once
know.
every other year.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
got it. Cool.
Also, we got lobster rolls there, and I didn't think they were as good as the other place. So I don't know. I don't know about
They were
salty
not.
roll.
They were not Neptune Oyster for sure. Although that place has been rated as the best lobster roll in Boston for years. Just felt like we should try something new, you know? Oh well.
Yeah.
Big mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, you make good decisions
Rookie
sometimes, and you
mistake.
make bad decisions sometimes. And we invited Owen again this year, and here we are.
Yeah, that was honestly rookie mistake. Although I will say I didn't keep half the people in the house awake every night. So
Yeah, that was the guy you brought.
oh, I'm sorry. No. Cassie invited him. I did not.
Did she?
So yeah,
Oh, that's good. That's
I
good.
did
Wait, it's
not
your
invite
friend, though, yeah?
Chris. That was Cassie. I met Chris once at a wedding.
Well, Chris was
And-
awesome. He can come
Yeah,
back.
he's great. He's great.
Yeah, Chris
Yeah,
is
You
he
met
was
Chris
sleep with
once
Alex,
at a
though.
wedding?
Yeah, he and Alex can sleep in their own room.
I met
Yeah.
him once at a wedding because it was my friend's wedding, so like we're friends with the same person, and
Wow.
we were all three of us were playing Halo, and then we joined Cassie, and then Cassie was like, "All of you guys should come to Boston," and Chris was the only one that took her up on that option.
Huh.
But I would
That's
just
way
like
less-
to point out, did not invite him because I was like, I don't know this dude. It could be really bad. And then he kept Jake up, and I felt really bad about that. And I was like,
It was
well,
fine.
Well, that one
I
night,
wasn't
Jake kept
me.
himself up.
I did keep myself up one night.
You did
Wouldn't be-
look
Oh,
at
boy.
everybody and say, you know, if I drink any more rum, I'm probably going to throw up. And then you proceeded to drink a lot more rum.
Look,
Yeah.
I'm a scientist.
I
I
told
make
you.
a hypothesis, I test it. And I was correct.
Holy crap.
Hypothesis
Much
proven.
to your own dismay.
Yes.
Well, if you have never been to PAX East and you are listening to this podcast, you should go next year. Not with our group
Blast.
because you won't get any sleep. There's like a couple snorers, just saying. They keep you awake. You got to wear some noise-canceling headphones. It'll help you. Alex, why are you shaking your head? I'm not talking specifically about you, okay?
I
Yeah.
literally slept with noise canceling headphones on over ear cups.
I loved that I like woke up in the moonlight and turned to Jake, and Jake had his like over the ears on, trying to fall asleep. And I was like,
They really
Wait,
cut it out.
They are
though.
Those the
nice.
same ones that
Yeah.
you have?
Yeah, I think we have the same pair.
They're good.
Did it work?
Yeah, I slept. After I put them on, fell asleep.
Gosh.
Drinking a lot every night also helps because then you just
Yeah.
crash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't, as the case may be. Or you crash in a different way, I suppose.
Yeah.
Crash and
Into
burn.
the toilet.
I still can't
Mhm.
believe that Brock, sleeping like 15 feet
Yeah.
away from that bathroom door, was like,
No
wait,
idea.
you were up?
School was only until like 4 a.m. It's not a big deal.
Either way, if you want to go to PAX, make sure you bring some noise-canceling headphones. You should show up next year. That way we can continue to bring back people to PAX, continue to bring back devs and panels. It's a really fun time. Boston's a really cool city. Trust me, you would enjoy it. Alex and I have been going for, I guess the multiples of us have been going for like 9 years. Alex and I have been going for 10 now. So,
Has it been that
Absolute
long?
blast.
Dang.
yeah.
We're old now.
We are
We
very
are
old.
old.
Super duper old and irrelevant.
I just
Anyway.
okay. Speaking of us being old, real quick,
What?
the 10 years ago subreddit the other day posted that the Avengers movie is 10 years old.
Is it?
And I was
really?
like,
Dude.
What? That's crazy. And then also I was on the 20 years ago subreddit, and the first Spider-Man movie is 20 years old, and I was
like
like,
the Tobey Maguire
Ooh,
one.
Tobey
Yeah.
Maguire. Yeah.
Wow.
He's aged well.
it's ridiculous. Avengers though, Avengers being a decade old is crazy to me.
That's pretty nuts. Is that all you had to say about that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it
it.
makes sense.
We can end the podcast.
All right. Well, tune back in 2 weeks. We'll have a normal podcast where it's not short and we talk about a lot more games. Oh, wait, we talked about a lot of games this time, so whatever. It'll be similar. Anyways, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next time. See ya.